What's up everyone? Adam here from Technique Matters and welcome back to another episode. So this week we're going to go through the squat and the bracing in the squat. Before going into more of the technical things in the squat, you want to make sure you dial in the bracing. So in this video, we're going to go through 4 common issues that we see when I pass on to Clinton.
All right, so coming into the first fault, which is basically what we call the chicken wing elbows. So this is how it looks like. So if you actually pan over here, you can see that JJ is trying to demonstrate in such a position that their elbows are so high. So when the elbows are so high, I understand that you are trying to create a shelving here. But when you're creating this position, right, all your focus is on the back itself. So when you are squatting, it's very hard for you to engage the core, okay? So do a couple of squats to see. So if you are doing it this way, right, you can actually notice that the lumbar position is not straight, right? It's moving back and forth, up and down, hyperextending, flexing here and there, okay? So with this elbows up position, right, it is very hard for you to focus on that ribs down bracing position, all right? If you don't understand what is ribs down bracing, please go and look it up. We have one of our first few videos about bracing for the squats. We explained that, but later in this video, we're gonna revisit it again. So, number one, if you have this high elbow position in the manner where you're only focusing on squeezing the upper back and not focusing on the bracing, this is one of the first faults, okay? So let's move on to the second one. All right, the second fault, which is one of my favorite to see because almost most of the people, before I started re-educating them, they are adopting this cue. Even in fact for me, when I was still a young powerlifter, I do a lot of this cue as well. This is called the chest up cue, okay? So in a squat, I hear a lot. Everyone is talking about it. Keep your chest up in a squat. But do you really need to do that? All right, let me just show you that. Okay, so JJ is trying to set up for the squat, okay? So what he does, right, is his chest is facing upwards. Okay, so in this position, it may look like, wow, it's a very nice position, but right from the start, you can actually see his lower back is actually hyperextended. If it's in this position, how is it possible for you to brace over here? Okay, he can't feel a thing over here, and then he will try to squat. Let's do some squat. And then when he squat, right, he will think about sitting back and twerking his butt, all right, in a backward position. So when you're doing this, right, you feel nothing in the core, a lot on the lower back. So if you are basically squatting in this manner, most probably you'll experience a lot of lower back issues. Okay, you can put it back. Yeah, so do not lie to yourself. This is definitely one of the most common things we see in a squat. So if your squat actually look like this, you definitely need to do something about it. Okay, now to the next one. The third fault that we see is somehow related to the second one, which is basically the chest up cue. But instead of chesting up at the start, right, you are actually one up level higher, whereby you start in a very nice position. Okay, so as a coach myself, when I see my athlete start in this position, I'm like, okay, he's gonna have a good squat. But as he goes down into the hole, the moment he gets up, he thinks about chest up cue, right? So he goes down again, and then his friends will start shouting chest, 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 chest. And then his chest will go up, his lower back will hyperextend, and you lose so much power from the lower back. Okay, so when you're doing this, right, there's a very high chance for you to bring your hips first, and then putting yourself in a very terrible spot to actually use your legs to drive the weight up. And then once again, you will feel a lot on your lower back, and then you cannot feel no shit on the core. Okay, let's go down to the last one. Okay, now into the last fault. So in most of our videos at Technique Matters, we always like to encourage the ribs down position. But remember, when we say ribs down, we are still trying to keep our thoracic, which is the mid-back neutral. But powerlifters like to go into extreme for everything, right? So the next fault we're gonna show you is basically over flexing. So ribs down, yes, ribs down, and then they flex like they're almost like a hunchback. Okay, so let JJ try to show you how it's done. Okay, so this usually happens when it's very heavy, or you're basically a dumb nut. So you start yourself in this almost flex position. You can already feel so much tension on the mid back. Okay, you can feel a hell lot of core position, core bracing, but when you go down, you put yourself in such a terrible spot and weak spot whereby when you come up, right, the mid back will basically flex a lot, and then the weight will start to drop, and then you feel like the bar is rolling forward, and then you feel like you're falling. Okay, you can put it back. Thank you. Okay. So why do you have to put yourself in so much misery in the squat itself? All you need to do is basically understand the correct positioning and the correct feedback you need to know in terms of bracing for the squats. It's similar to the deadlifts, and what's going to happen right now is JJ is going to show you and provide some feedback cues for you to know so that when you are bracing, you know that you are bracing right. Okay, so let's go.
Clinton, do I need you to demonstrate? Don't need, right? Okay, cool. Okay, cool. Ready? Alright, hi guys, my name is JJ. So I'm going to give you some simple cues and simple solutions that will help you to break down this very complicated or this seemingly complex idea of bracing in a squat down to as simple as possible. And I'm going to have Clinton here to help me to show you this sort of the method in which we like to coach how you have a good brace in a squat. So a little bit of a recap from last week's video on bracing for the deadlift. Remember we talked about the thumbs in the side kind of cue. So if you are kind of thinking about chest up and you try to do that exercise again, you can see that your thumbs don't get pushed out as much as compared to really having a good position, exhaling, and then try to brace and then fill it up with air. So think about it as a step-by-step process. We want to start with a good exhale, set good rib position, and then we can sort of brace and then finish off the brace with a little bit of air. Okay, so I'm going to have Clinton here to show us how to do that. So before he starts the drill, he's not going to think about chest up, he's not going to think about, squeezing anything. He's just going to stay relatively relaxed, everything is in a nice, good position. And what he's going to do is he's going to point his elbows kind of towards the floor, and then he's going to climb diagonally into the bar. Okay? So you can see from here that everything is really nice. He's not overly crunched, so if you overly crunch down, or he's not overly hyperextended. Okay, so you see that his elbows are always in line with his torso. Okay, from here he wants to kind of set. Remember, a good brace comes from good positioning to begin with. So if you start overly flexed, overly extended, then you're not going to have that good position to begin with. He's got good position, he's going to unrack the bar. So from this position, you're gonna sort of exhale slightly, lightly, and let all of this muscle and position go into like the right kind of setting. Okay? So from there, Clinton is going to push out into my thumbs, push out, and then he's going to fill it up with air. Yeah, so he's going to finish off the brace with air. The brace is not only with air, okay? It's a muscular strategy, finish off with air. And then from here, he's just going to squat with a good brace position. So you can see that as he descends, his back is relatively neutral. There's no big changes in his lumbar, and then he's going to stand up whilst maintaining his sort of torso lean, whilst maintaining tension in his core. So the big thing about bracing in the squats, sorry, you can put it back. The big thing about bracing in the squats is you do not want to overcomplicate it by thinking chest up. You don't want to overcomplicate it by thinking lats. You don't want to overcomplicate it by putting too many cues. You just need to hold the tension in your core and push the floor. People like to overcomplicate thinking push into the bar, squeeze your abs, do all these kind of things, squeeze your glutes, squeeze your hamstrings. It's really very simple. Hold that tension in your side and push the floor. And that is a sign of how, if you do those two things right, you will most likely get a very, very good squat and a very, very sort of optimal brace to come along with your squats. Alright, if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. I know that a lot of people ask us, myself, Clinton and Adam, to make this video about bracing for the squats, and then they ask us to look at their videos, and then they ask us to do all these things. So really, I think this video is going to be a really good one. If so, make sure you get the word out. If not, that's all for today. We'll catch you next time.